Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of MovieCast, where I am your host, Dana, joined by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. And how are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing good, Dana. What's up, listeners and viewers?
Okay, I'm alive. That's all I got for you. I'm hanging on by a thread, kind of like him, the movie that we will be discussing. So, yes, this is the big. This was supposed to be the big psychological thriller. We don't know suspense. What's going on? Movie of 2025, where Marlon Wayans finally gets his big time um, dramatic debut. We saw him previously in Requiem for a Dream, but he was a supporting cast member. It wasn't his story. This one where it's completely his story. And a lot of people, I know me myself, was very excited because Marlon Wayans, one thing about him is that he can do drama, honey. He is dramatic. People have known him for his comedy, but when comes a great comedian, comes a lot of pain. And that's what we knew about his drama was going to be amazing. And this movie, well, um, he was the best thing about this movie. So, what were your initial thoughts going in? And then when you finally saw the movie, what were they coming out?
Okay, so initially going into this movie, when I
Mhm.
saw the trailer, I said that looks interesting. However, I think it's very predictable in terms of what they were trying to do with the storytelling. Um, Leading up to this movie, I saw plenty of other movies. One movie in particular where there were stories that Jordan Peele wanted to get, but he could not get, which is that movie Weapons that we covered. Um, but obviously, Marlon Wayans, I've always liked Marlon Wayans as an actor, always liked anything that he's been in. Obviously, you made mention of Requiem for a Dream. That is a phenomenal movie. And when I saw it at the time in high school, um, was it high school or college? I don't remember the exact time it came out, but that was a movie that I would tell anybody, if you ever think about doing drugs, you need to watch that movie and you will be scared straight into not even bothering to do drugs. There was just a highly disturbing film. Okay. So that's what I will say. But I was convinced that I already knew he was going to do a good job. But when I saw the trailer, I said, well, they can really go, but only with one direction with this movie. But I still wanted to see it because, again, Marlon Wayans, I support him. But I will say this: you say that's my thoughts going into the movie. Now, my initial thoughts coming out of the movie. Now I
Mhm.
fully understand why Jordan Peele wanted to get Weapons, because this movie was hot garbage, ladies and gentlemen, garbage. There's some things about the movie that I thought were interesting. We'll get into it, but overall, I was disappointed. I walked out of the theater, and it's funny because I saw this movie opening night. It was a lot of people in that theater too. A lot of people was interested in seeing it. Um, and then I think when I left the theater, I didn't hear not one clap, nothing. Everybody just left, went about their business. And that seems like the appropriate response. Whereas with other movies like Weapons, people enjoyed it a lot. But this movie, absolutely not. So, but yes, that's my initial reaction so far. Now we will get into more of this stuff as we continue the conversation. But yes, continue.
I knew that it was going to be a problem from the beginning. When you have something that's produced by Jordan Peele, it's always like they slap his name on it, which like a
Yep.
monkey paw production. Because then I'm like, not what monkey paw production have we seen that, unless it actually came from Jordan Peele himself, was very good. Candyman is very questionable,
Mm-hmm.
still to this day. Um, that whole remember the Twilight Zone that he wrote and produced was like it wasn't
Oh
good.
yeah.
They done canceled that one. And so for me, when you say produced by and not written by or directed by, I'm like, oh, okay. I felt like that's how you slap the name on to get people really interested and then confuse people because people are like, oh, it's by Jordan Peele. And it's like it's not. It's just the production company. It's produced
Mm-hmm.
by. And then this is how I knew that there was a problem. How do I put it this way? When I have easy access to a movie that I'm really, really anticipating, then that means that movie's not going to be good. When I have to fight and claw to see it, that's when we have a problem. Weapons, I had to fight and claw to see. That was an exceptional movie. Then they gave me, for example, there was the movie that starred Kate Blanchett in the video game. It's a video game adaptation that I cannot remember. Exactly. You can't remember it either. That and then that when I got the access to that movie was too easy. I knew that we had problems. The access to this movie was too easy. So I knew that this was going to be a really bad thing. And here's the thing. I don't like watching trailers. So I didn't go into this knowing everything. I just knew that it starred Marlon Wayans. It was some creepy aspects and it was football. So I went into this kind of essentially blind, aside from football and Marlon Wayans being dramatic. And do you want to be a goat? That's all I knew. So that was like, oh, okay. Then when I left the theater, it felt like Mike Tyson punched me in the stomach and then in the head. The actual term gut punch was my reaction because this movie was awful when it didn't have to be awful. This felt like a first draft when it was supposed to be the final draft. It was like, if you have a really good idea and you just work through it and you write through your little idea and then you go to read it and you're like, oh snap, this is garbage, but I like my idea. Let me work on things. And then it'll take you like another 6 months to kind of get somewhat of a format. And then it'll take like another maybe 3 to 6 months to work on another draft. We skipped all those draft parts and was just like, oh, look what I wrote. It's a masterpiece. And you just sent it away. No. This was bad on levels that just made me sad. Like, it's easy to be like, and this was trash, and this was trash. It just made me sad because it was all there when you looked at it. Marlon Wayans put his foot in the role. He put the gun in his mouth and did a lot of things to the gun with the mouth. But it all that commitment for this script to not be scripted just made me sad. I was sad for that little mixed race baby because this is his big starring role and he's really good. But the movie, it just made me sad for him. It was sad. Yes.
Well, since you mentioned him, I'm going to make a comment about that. I believe his name is Tyreek is his first name. Is it Tyreek Winters? Weathers. Tyreek Weathers. Let me just say this. I think that he has a bright future still because he was in the Atlanta. He was in an episode of Atlanta. That's when I first saw him. And then again, earlier this year, he was in that new version of I Know What You Did Last Summer. He was great in that. So I figured, okay, this is considered like it's obviously a more important role because he has a much more prominent position in this movie. So I still personally think that he has a bright future if he gets the right role. But this particular movie, it's like, I mean, we get what the whole premise was, and I believe the word you said before we started recording was heavy-handed because from the start of the movie, you knew what this was. You knew they were basically controlling him to really want to be the GOAT. Why, they had the shot of him as a kid watching the father forcing his son to keep his eyes on the game. It's like, okay, so they, from the very beginning, you knew what this was. So when the revelation happens towards the end of the movie, it's like, well, of course that's what it is. I mean, it wasn't really anything else to it. And then, of course, in the true Jordan Peele style, where the character has to get some payback, right? Even though Jordan Peele is the producer, like you said, I feel like they put his name on a lot of these movies, and even though and that's why a lot of people, when they saw this, they automatically, like, I don't know You said you didn't watch any trailers. The people I talked to said, "Oh, this is a Jordan Peele movie. I'm not going to watch this garbage." This is what they told me because they saw his because they didn't like Nope. So it's like it is what it is now. But I will say this. I am looking forward to seeing what Tyreek does next. I'm looking forward to seeing what Marlon does next. So yeah, Marlon, once again, I do like you said, he was the star of the movie. But even with his character, I feel like they could have shown you so much more of what he went through in his personal life. They didn't really, this is a situation where they will tell you certain stuff, but then they don't show you what the character has gone through. They could have had a flashback to stuff he's encountered. They said, no, we're just going to have him talk to him about what he's going through and then all this other stuff. I kind of feel like we saw that he got injured. His character got injured at the very beginning of the movie, right? When they were on the television screen. And then you understand this entire time, he had the responsibility of leading this organization, the franchise or whatever. But I feel like, yeah, and they were putting pressure on him with the blood and stuff. I just feel like I wanted to see more about what exactly made him this way. It's more than just the people around him and the pressures. There's more to that. And they didn't really take it as far as they could have taken it. That's just my opinion. But I want to hear what you have to say about that.
So here's my thing. My problem comes up from the very beginning when it comes to heavy-handedness. The very beginning of the movie is the father, not just we love football, we worship football. They worshipped solely Isaiah. They made an altar, the father, because I can't say they. The father built an altar to Isaiah. And the fact that the team was called, what was it, Cardinals? No, the San Antonio Sabres. The San Antonio Savers.
Savers. Yep. Savers.
And then he built an altar to him. And I'm like, oh, okay. You're worshiping not football as a whole. You're worshiping him. You're putting in the message of, now you got to be the greatest at whatever you're going to be, son. Even if it's football, you got to be Isaiah. He was raised his entire life to be Isaiah, to replace Isaiah from day one. So it's like, oh, okay. So then he finally meets the star, and you're like, okay. But then going back, what you stated about the leg, when he got completely Sid Vicious, and that leg was just flopping about, right? That would have been, not then and not there, but that incident would have been a really great, explanation, because that I felt was the gateway to, I'm losing my career. I might lose my leg. Lord Jesus, help me. Somebody help me. And that somebody would have been like, hey, you want to make a deal with the devil? And him to explain what really happened. Because remember, he had to bounce back. But they never explained how he was able to bounce back from the Sid Vicious injury. So right there, that is one of my they made a factor to show that his leg was just like this. So I always thought, we're going to go back to the leg. That was the turning point of everything. Yes, the pressures and football and the star and, oh my God, the team. But you yourself is now, your career is over. I'm going to assume you was also trained from a child to be the greatest football player you can be. And then remember how it goes to show you have to replace this guy to replace that guy. Who did you replace? When you gave us the Hall, literally the Hall of Famers, but Hall of Devil Worshippers, you explained that you had to replace your mentor. What was that like? What was that story? I felt like we were missing an entire part of the story. But then can we get to the main part here? So we're introduced to Cam. Cam grows up, and obviously he is a football player, and it's draft NFL season. You know about the draft game seasons. I don't know nothing about them. I think it's like an auction, if you really look at it. But see, that's also another theory that I really hated, that they didn't go into. It's like being auctioned.
Yeah.
You sit on the thing and they. Ooh. Anyway.
Yeah, because because the NFL Combine, he went there to try to get brought to a team, but then he got attacked and all this other stuff, and that was the whole plan to orchestrate to get him to come with the saviors, be taught by Isaiah in a little bit of a training camp. But the auction thing, yeah, that would have made a lot of sense because in the world of sports, when these people are getting drafted to teams, whether it's football, basketball, I mean, the owners, they are looking at them as this is some property.
What did you just call them?
So what?
What did you just say? The owners.
Yeah, the owners. Yeah, yeah.
These are my property. I'm the owner. Mm-hmm. That right there could have been a dynamic. And this is not even a race thing. This is a sports thing.
Exactly.
But then also, what is it like to be a black man?
Yeah, you're right. Oh no. That's exactly the point. They dropped the ball with that explanation. We understand that I guess there will be some that would argue, well, yeah, they was so adamant about winning. That's why you had them continuously doing what they can to try and obviously they kept Isaiah around, but now the plan was to, okay, now we need to get this guy coming in. And it was this whole thing about, yes, now we need them to fight each other to determine who will be leading the team. It's like all of this, like I said, when I saw the trailer in the beginning, I already knew what the end of the path was because the trailer, and this is one thing that Hollywood does with almost every trailer, they show you too much. You could tell the whole story in the trailer. From the beginning, they had the scene of him, I'm going to get to go and hang out with Isaiah. I consider him the GOAT. They showed literally every important scene in that movie in that trailer, with the exception of what happened with the woman getting killed at the, at Isaiah's place. But everything else they showed, it's like, so I feel like I already saw this movie when I saw the trailer. So.
Okay, so so what was interesting is the fact that he ended up getting attacked on the football field. He didn't make it through the game day draft selection. Yeah. And he got attacked on the field, which then ended up into basically a really bad brain injury that he was able to recover from. But the attacker was someone dressed as a goat. So everything's about goats. The imagery of goats, and that's a huge thing when it comes to the Bible is goats. So he is attacked by the goat because he wants to be the goat to replace the goat. See what I mean by it being too heavy-handed? Something that I wrote when I was like a teenager. But going in from that, so by him, he's under the pressure. You have, he feels like he's completely given up on that he's not going to make it. And then all of a sudden the manager is like, hey, we have a phone call for you to train with your idol, Isaiah. And it is literally in the middle of nowhere. It is like a desert thing, but when they're driving into the place, you get these cult fans, cult-like fans. And these are fans that you can get from anywhere. Cult-like fans are in NFL. They are in WWE. Oh my God, why are you watching AEW? It's terrible. To baseball. We've seen the pure fights. We've seen anything that happens. They will burn down cities if their town loses, or even if they win, they will burn down the city. So we've seen that before. We end up with these cult-like fans who are very upset because they feel that this boy, Cam, is going to replace Isaiah. Obviously, Cam does not know that yet, even though there are whispers of him retiring. It's just a natural progression in life. Somebody retires, somebody replaces him. Eli Manning had to replace whomever. Tom Brady replaced whomever it was that he replaced. Aaron Rodgers, we don't talk about him. Let him drink soup. But the point is, there's that natural progression, but it does come across as very like, oh my God, what's going on? It's kind of scary. That's to add to the scary element that to me just didn't work. So we get to the whole underground layer thing, which the Amazon packages was cute, was funny. There's a bunch of packages that just never got picked up. And then we meet him, and of course, obviously, he's going to be really nice. He's going to be really friendly. The devil doesn't go and be like, I'm the devil. When you first meet him, he's going to be like, hey, look at what they did with what's in my face in the thing with the movie that I can't think of. I have ADHD, so I can't remember anything.
Oh,
Ironheart with Mephisto.
Ironheart. Yeah, yeah.
He was
Yep.
very charming. He was very nice. And that's what Marlon Wayans is. He's very charming. He's very nice. He seems to be very welcoming. And he's going to only stay with him for 7 days. And so each day is essentially a test to warm him up to see what's going to happen if he's going to pass the test, which is the final test of it all. What did you think when they first introduced Marlon Wayans? He had the goat heads that he was doing again, the goats, goat heads, and artwork.
Well, well, he's the GOAT, right? So this is why they wanted to really emphasize that multiple times over and over and over again. No, I mean, I thought it was very much predictable because we've seen multiple movies, TV shows where there is somebody who meets their idol or someone that they admire for the first time, and it's obviously a positive interaction. And then things eventually take a dramatic turn as they get to know more about the individual. Now, I will say this, even though I did not like this movie, I like the format of this is a day to day, this is what happens, because there was some potential to show things devolve even further throughout these days.
Mm-hmm.
At least it started out with potential, but then it just felt like because of the same thing, there are things happening to Cam as well with the hallucinations, the drugs, him being drugged, all this stuff happening. So you kind of like, it's kind of like they want you, like, I feel like the person who worked on this movie, he wanted you to not only feel the movie, but also feel like you are a part of the character so that you can be just as confused about certain stuff as Cam was in the actual movie itself. So, but I will say I did like the idea, the concept of trying to do this on a day-by-day basis, but I just feel like they fell flat on the execution of how to make that better to carry the movie throughout from beginning to end.
Right. So each day has a different meaning for it, and we get up with really interesting training drills. Basically, essentially, one of the big main scenes that was also shown in the trailer was the football machine, where we had fans as well, fans of Isaiah, basically running. I don't know what you would call it, drill things. You watch the football practices with Isaiah, where basically, if he doesn't catch the ball, his teammate will get hit in the face with the football machine. I don't know the proper terminology for all of this.
No, that's correct.
Basically,
yeah, that's correct.
he gets hit in the face with a football machine, and they will increase the speed, the intensity of the hit to the point where the man's face who gets hit in the face barely exists anymore. The teeth are gone, the nose is gone, the eyes like halfway hanging out. What were your thoughts on these training practices? To kind of, and Cam actually ended up working because it motivated Cam to start catching the ball, but no one helped the fan.
Like you said, they showed that in the trailer. So when I saw it, I was like, okay, yeah, I've already seen this. That particular way of getting him to improve, I think that is believable. If the person has these issues, that they're going to really try to make you feel guilt to want to try and prevent the other person from getting hurt. So I understand that, but I think the problem is that we did see that, but we didn't really, if I recall correctly, there weren't too many other test scenarios like that one. They could have done a hell of a lot more to have other situations that the character is involved in, but try to play on their emotions a different type of way. But they didn't do that. But they really emphasized that scene there, because that was all I saw in the trailer was the guy getting hit with the ball, and then he's like, you see the bloody face. It's like, okay, but what else? What else is there that you're doing to try to put pressure on him? So yeah, they fell flat on that.
But it was really interesting in the concept of fans, because it goes to show you these were people without any agents who were desperate to belong, desperate to do Isaiah's bidding, and just desperate to be a part of anything. So I found that part to be interesting about how people will sacrifice their body for the hope and opportunity to have a chance at something, and also to show that how his followers are so deep that they don't mind basically losing their face. And the fact
Yeah.
that Marlon Wayne's character was like genuinely just didn't care about it. You kind of seen him kind of lose sense of not lose of reality, but also just wasn't even tapped into empathy at all. He kind of lost a sense of himself, which I thought would have been a really great exploration of what happens when you become the goat and you sacrifice yourself to, because not the higher power, the lower power, who gives you everything that you want. It's a Judas thing, essentially, who gives you everything that you've
But
wanted, and you become soulless about it. Yeah.
exactly. Let me ask this question really quick, and then we'll go back on topic. I'm just going to ask this question outright. I should have asked this question from the beginning. Do you think people would have seen or cared about this movie if Jordan Peele's name was not on it at all?
Yes. Marlon Wayans
Marlon
in a
Wayans, yep.
drama.
Yeah. Okay.
Marlon Wayans in a drama, and the trailer was it did give that dark vibe where you're like, what is going on? So yeah, I think it was a thriller with Marlon Wayans in a drama and football and hymns and goats. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
that it definitely would have worked. But yeah, so then kind of going on with that, this is when we get into we also have the blood transfusion, which is really
Yeah.
interesting, where he's been stealing Cam's blood to give him an energy boost. And it's like, well, you've been doing what? So whole blood transfusions happening without any of his knowledge, was is essential. Basically, it felt like a part of a what's that word? Ritual for the whole process of signing away your life to the devil. And then we have at the end, Julia Fox also is in this, and everyone knows Julia Fox was connected to Kanye West. She was lovely and amazing in this movie. She gave the best creepy, scary white girl. I'm scared of you. I don't know what's going on, but I want to know more. So I absolutely loved her in this movie. I don't know how you felt about her in this movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I think she did a good job. I kind of forgot who she was, and then I remember this is the same. Well, she was in that movie with Adam Sandler for A24. Yeah, a while
Uncut
back.
Gems.
That's it. Uncut Gems. Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of wanted, I had to try to go back and remember how she looked. She looked a lot different now. That's why I had to go back and double check that. But no, she did a good job.
She did a lovely job. And then we get kind of the crazy sauna scene that we mentioned kind of before, where when the fans come in and essentially try to kill him. This was the craziest thing happened. So he's in the sauna, and he basically the girl somehow snuck in, got into the sauna, tried to kill him. He's fighting for his life. Marlon Wayans comes in and just kills her without anything. And he just goes back into his room. He's good. He's fine. Meanwhile, poor Cam is just freaking out and dying, falling all over the place. Understandably, in between all of this stuff that's happening, he's also having hallucinations about a goat. Once again, but they're like, oh no, it's signs of the concussion. So this is when we get into our kind of big revelation thing of what Cam is and what is truly going on, going about. Every time he leaves, he's going to go watch tape. And that tape essentially is, and everything's in red with the heavy handedness. Jesus. Everything's in red. He goes into his room to watch tape, and it's basically him looking up. The projection is like from the ceiling, so everything's screened on the ceiling, looking up, and he's in the middle. Or if you look up with the viewpoint, it creates like an eye, and it's like all of the fans just adoring him and praising him. It's not even like, oh, it's tape of the game. No, it's just kind of worship thing. And then that's when we get kind of, long story short of the big breakdown, what we discover that basically his father sold his soul to the devil to make a deal that Cam would replace or end up becoming Isaiah. So him not knowing, have to replace him. And the reason why that happened, in order for him to get the deal, the father died. And so this is how Cam is now in the predicament of which he is in now. And what did you think about that part? Because it was interesting because Cam found a photo of him with the owner of the football team. And what was interesting was the cross that he was wearing was upside down. And anyone who knows upside down crosses, it means the Antichrist, because we have to be very literal with this movie. That's how he got here.
Yeah.
That's how he got here. With the praying to the devil. I'm pretty sure he didn't say, "Oh, demons be." But you know, when you send out a prayer and you're not very direct with your prayer, things come and answer your prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Antichrist appeared and was like, "Hey, we'll take over. Just give us your soul." What did you think?
Yeah, I think the whole thing made a lot of sense. Like you said, I think he really wanted it to get very literal to try to make sure you understood that. But from the very beginning of the movie, and the fact that the father was so adamant, because even when Isaiah got injured, his son turned away from the screen. This guy literally put his hands on his face and turned, "No, you need to watch this. You need to watch this." So it better explain why. And then the other thing in the movie is that Cam, he didn't want to let down his dad, even though his dad passed. He would feel like, oh, I need to still be successful because my dad, he put a lot into me. So when the revelation happened, I said, yeah, it makes sense, because the father, even though we didn't spend a lot of time with that character, obviously this is somebody who wanted his son to be successful at any cost. So when the revelation happened, I said, okay, yeah, that I understand that. I get that. But it's just like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of movies, TV shows deal with similar storylines, not in this particular stuff, but it just was very predictable in a sense. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about the whole blood drinking situation
Yeah.
with that as well. But kind of going back to your point, it was way too literal for me. I think that this was a great opportunity to explain his father, to
Yeah.
show us that desperation, to show us that what he actually did. Everything that wasn't on the page, should have been on the screen, and everything that was on the screen really didn't need to be on the page. We didn't need to see a majority of certain things. But yeah, I thought that was another wasted opportunity to find out what exactly happened with his father, with the entire deal. Instead, it was just a picture that we got, and we put it together, and it was very easy to put together. So that was a plus. It was not complicated at all when it came to this movie. But another thing that I did kind of forget about this was the party with the doctor,
Yeah.
who was basically sick and tired of everything and basically being a servant to um, Isaiah, who he hasn't seen his family for months on end, and he was just sick of it all. Well, basically, they got rid of him. They invited him to a big party. And remember, he was like, "Run." He's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, again, literal. Run, huh? So then they kind of offered Cam, like the owners were all there. Again, the owners looking devilish. Then they gave him this red liquid to drink, which was Isaiah's blood because it's red. Um, and that's when he ended up, kind of being disoriented. He woke up and found the doctor's head wrapped in plastic, which was interesting. That was a sacrifice, I would assume. Um, and he just basically flipped out as he should, and then he woke up and discovered that he's basically in an ice bath, and he's connected to an IV of Isaiah's blood, and he was getting the blood transfer as well. And he was like, I'm gonna go and kill you. And then that's how we get into like the discovery of what the tape that he was watching. And oh my gosh, my father made a deal with the devil. And then this ends up into the really big thing. Um, yeah, this is when we get into the entire lineage of goats and bloods. And the reason why you have to have the blood is because the blood is transferred to what is going to be the person that replaces you. And he says that in order to replace me, basically you have to kill me. And I was like, huh? Well, okay. So they have a little, it's a fight to the death, and he beats him to death. Cam beats Isaiah to death with the helmet. What was your thoughts on this entire kind of setup? And then I kind of missed the point when he deep throated a gun, but Jesus.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Are you sleeping with my wife?
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. I remember that scene. That was pretty crazy.
That was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, I was disappointed with the fight itself. It felt like it ended very, very, very quickly. There's more they could have done to, because again, he was getting Cam's blood. Obviously, he had some more energy in his system. I felt like they could have done a little bit more to, I don't know what they could have done, but I just was not satisfied with that fight. And that conclusion of the back and forth, it's like, first and foremost, we knew that Cam was going to win. And once again, I knew this because the trailer, there was a scenes where he was outside filled with blood on him. That was in the trailer. So that I already knew, okay, whatever happens in this altercation, he's obviously going to survive because I haven't seen that scene yet. Too much.
Wow. I wasn't aware of this because I don't watch trailers. That's painful. Oh my, I was very disappointed in this whole situation because it was just like, why? It made it seem like you willingly wanted to retire. Like, here's the thing. I know he struggled with retiring and continuing. And I would have loved if we would have gotten more of that dynamic, if we would have gotten more inside of his head when it came to what he should do next and struggling. Because I'm pretty sure everyone, from no matter what your sport or your career path is, you struggle with when to retire. And you're like, no, I still got more fighting, literal, left in me. I'm going to keep going. And we didn't get any of that. We didn't get any of his mindset and what was going on and why did he pick Cam and everything else. It was just, I'm pretty sure there are plenty of parents who prayed at the altar of Isaiah. What made this boy so special? I don't know. Was it the fact that he got a brain injury so that he's more susceptible to just believing whatever it is that's going to happen? And then you just say, oh, no, it's from the concussion. Can we gaslight him? I don't know. We never got an active thing with that. What was the whole point of him getting his head? Remember when they shaved his head and then it hit the staples and the blood jumped up and I was like, oh, Lord Jesus, it's going to kill everyone because that's painful. But the point that I'm making is this. It frustrated me seeing that scene because I just didn't know where Marlon, where the character kind of was thinking and was going through. Was this always like a situation where, hey, you're always going to have to fight that person and that's just, even if you want to quit and don't want to be the GOAT anymore, do you still have to fight and get blood transfusions? I don't know. But that scene itself, I didn't mind the fight. I was getting tired at this point. Where it was like, yeah, we're going to get an ending. Sorry. But yeah, it just wasn't something that was like really exciting for me. But he did beat him in the head with that helmet and he walked out. He somehow was able to walk out. And then when he walked out, it was kind of the equivalent to game day when you walk out, when the team walks out into the field. And here we had on, and this is when, like, I think people were willing to like walk out of the movie at this point because it completely took a different tone. This is another thing. There were too many tone shifts in this movie. where it wasn't done well. So this is when we get into the complete comedic, satirical aspect of the film. He walks out, it's game day, the cheerleaders are like, yay! The goats are like, bah! Right? And they're all excited, and there comes the owners of the team. And they're like godlike Game of Thrones table and chairs, and they're like, you made it, boy. Woo-hoo! Welcome to the team. I know you can do it, Negro. And now come sign your life away. And then we're assuming like, oh, it's not signing it's not a contract, it's a contract for your soul. And then what even happens when they have your soul? You just die? Point is, so this is when it gets crazy. So he's like, no, I ain't gonna do this, and then proceeds to kill everyone.
And
what are your thoughts from that ending? Because
to me, the ending felt very, very rushed after they revealed that the father, his role in all of this, and then when he went out there in front of those people and took out everybody, it just felt like it was a very rushed to say, okay, let's hurry up and end this movie, get to a resolution. And it was something where how it ended, it's very anticlimactic because all the people, he takes everybody out, and then that's it. You don't get no update on whatever happened to him after this. Nothing whatsoever. So it's like, and because normally if it's a horror movie, the character is going to deal with some type of trauma after this. And I've seen multiple movies where somebody goes through something, they deal with some type of trauma. Right afterwards, in some cases, their character may even get taken out at the very end. That happened multiple times in the Freddy Krueger movies. So that's why I was waiting to see, okay, so what's going to happen as a result? And again, that's an opportunity because something such as PTSD does exist. That is something that football players specifically, they have some type of traumatic injury. It messes them up. It has something impact on them afterwards. So for us not to get that at the very end in some capacity, they just said, all right, we did what we did with the story. Let's just end it now. We don't need to say anything else. So I didn't like any of that. And yes, some people did want to leave in my theater as well by the time it got to that final size. So I think that may have be consistent across the board.
It was the complete silliness of it, where it turned into something out of Acme, Looney Tunes,
Yep,
Tiny Toons Adventure, even where everyone's just scrambling all about, and it's like that kind of situation. I didn't feel that there was any kind of seriousness to the movie, seriousness to the message that she was trying to convey the previous, literally 2 seconds ago, about what it takes and the sacrifices to make in order to be a goat. And even then, we didn't get the sacrifices that you have to make to be a goat.
Mm-hmm.
So it just felt like everything just fell apart. And it was like, you know what? I don't know how to end this. And then he goes and comedically kills everyone, and then the guys run away. It just didn't feel like anything to me. And then the people who were just standing there, was this still part of the cult? Who were they? Everything just felt completely detached from reality. And you can even make that as the assumption. Was this one big CTE mad dream where, everything, because it was just so detached from everything. And then you're trying to say the message of what does it take and the sacrifices and the dark side of football. And I don't get it at all. And all these people, they get beheaded, and you see like it's the weird kind of comedic beheading where it's not like a Game of Thrones situation. It's like, oh, we cut your head off, drop to your knees, the blood squirts, and then your body falls down, that kind of thing. So it just kind of felt senseless to me. It took me completely out of the movie that I was already angry about. And then we don't even have a story on what makes you an owner. What are you trying to say between owners and players? Are all owner, not all, but in this movie, are the owners of teams just basically another version of the devil? Which you can
Yep.
easily make that argument, but you can make it much better than that.
Yes.
So it's like it was so many things that just left unsaid, and then you give me this ending. It felt to me like you don't respect the audience anymore. So for me, it was just frustrating. Maybe I'm just being way too serious about it because is it a comedy now? I don't know. But it just completely fell apart, and that just is kind of how it ended.
Yep.
It just,
I
from
agree
my
100%.
understanding, he wasn't going to ask the credits even. Like,
No, no.
hey,
They said
God
it's
comes
over.
down and was like, I'm proud of you, boy. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. Oh, and then the force came, the unforeseen force. So remember, after he done killed everybody, there's one person that's left. That's there. And so he spares the guy, and instead he drags him. Remember, there's a pentagon again. You see what I mean by the literal heavy handedness? The pentagon or pentagram. Sorry, pentagram. The pentagon is the actual place, the buildings next to the capitals and things. The pentagram, sorry, symbolic, goes to the devil. He's dragged in the middle of a pentagram where this ghostly figure just basically eats him up. He's gone to the devil. It just was just. What were your thoughts on the literalness of the pentagram, which is not a pentagon?
Oh, I was completely tuned out. You know, once they got to that final scene with him taking everybody out, I said, all right, yeah, it's about time for this to be over. So yeah, but yeah, they got very liberal with it. I will say this though, just so I will throw in a bit of some comedic stuff here. I'm very glad that Carmelo Hayes was not contacted about this movie because his gimmick is him. I feel like he would have definitely got a lot more exposure if he was in the movie, but this is not a good movie, so I'm glad he wasn't a part of it.
Wait, he was him?
Yes. I mean, or him or just in the movie in general, because his whole gimmick in WWE is he's him. So that's why I said I'm glad that he was not in the movie because the movie was bad. So
I was so detached. I thought Carmelo Anthony was. Would you say Carmelo Anthony?
No, Carmelo Hayes.
I thought Carmelo Hayes. I'm like, is this basketball? What's going on?
No, wrestling. Yeah, wrestling. He's on the main roster. SmackDown. Wrestling.
Oh,
he was in NXT.
I was so confused. I'm like, how did the basketball player become this? I'm confused it with Carmelo Anthony. I'm all over the place. But yeah, is there anything else that you would like to add? Because this was a mess.
Oh no. Here's what I would have to say. People are looking for horror movies. There are way better movies out that you can see than this. So if you are interested in seeing it because you want to support Marlon Wayans, you should see it. But I would not go to a theater and pay full price to see this. I would say you either go to a matinee that is incredibly cheap. However, depending on where you live, because I heard in New York City, matinee is still expensive. So wait for it to come on Netflix or Hulu, even if that still exists.
Peacock. Universal.
Peacock. There you go. So Peacock. Just wait for it to come out on Peacock. And if you have a day where you have absolutely nothing to do in the afternoon, yeah, watch it then. But I would not spend premium dollar to see this movie. I would not do it. Like I said, I think that Tariq has a future. Obviously, I want to see what Marlon does next, and I know they are working on scary movies, so that will definitely be better than this garbage. But no, I wouldn't recommend wasting a lot of money to see this. Find a cheap way to watch it if you can. Yeah.
We won with Scary Movie 6, but we lost with him. But yeah, overall, I think the acting was superb. I will put that there. I will say the acting was good. There were concepts of a plan. So concepts of a plan was actually good as well. But other than that, this was jibber jabber. This was malarkey. I wasn't a fan. So that's kind of all I have to say about this. So we will see you when we see you, and tell us what you think about him, because it was him was himmin'. So have a great day, afternoon, evening, and we'll catch you later. Yay! How do I pause?